Are you trying to be difficult right now? I'm not playing games with you. Don't try to manipulate me. A newly leaked audio clip featuring Shannon Sharpe and Gabriella Zuniga has made its way online, turning what seemed like a private interaction into the center of a $50 million lawsuit. Zuniga has brought forth allegations of abuse, assault, and manipulation against Sharpe. In response, Sharpe claims it's all a setup, asserting that the recording was doctored to ruin his reputation and extort money from him. As both parties present their own evidence and social media erupts in heated debate, one pressing question lingers. What truly transpired between Shannon and Gabriella? Let's break it down. The claims and immediate fallout. On April 20th, 2025, a civil suit was submitted to Nevada State Court, accusing Shannon Sharpe of misconduct. The legal case, which seeks $50 million in damages, was originally brought to court by a woman under the pseudonym Jane Doe, now identified as Gabriella Zuniga. Court filings reveal that Zuniga has made multiple grave accusations against Sharpe, among them sexual assault, battery, and the intentional infliction of emotional distress. According to the lawsuit, Zuniga describes their relationship, which started in 2023, as turbulent but consensual. At the time, Zuniga was 19 years old, while Sharpe was 56. The documents detail alleged instances of abuse, with specific incidents said to have taken place in October 2024 and January 2025. Additionally, Zuniga accuses Sharpe of making threats and exerting manipulative control, including claims that he threatened to choke her violently and slap her aggressively. One notable claim in the lawsuit refers to an event from September 2024, during which Sharpe was allegedly heard involved in sexual activity while live on Instagram, a moment Zuniga describes as deeply humiliating. These serious accusations have been widely discussed across various social media platforms and sports-related news outlets. Former NFL player Shannon Sharpe, who has cultivated a prominent media brand, notably as the host of the popular podcast Club Shay Shay, has addressed these allegations head-on. In a statement shared on his social media accounts, Sharpe did not hesitate to respond, confronting the motivations he believes are driving the lawsuit. Now, let's examine his response in his own words. Let's take a moment to consider some crucial background information. Tony Busby, the lawyer representing Gabriella Zuniga, is widely recognized for taking on prominent cases. In the past, he has worked on matters involving other notable figures, such as Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs. This inevitably heightens the public's curiosity surrounding this case. Moving back to Sharpe's remarks, he openly confronts Busby regarding the alleged video evidence. Sharpe also shares his perspective on the encounter in question, noting that it occurred during the day at her invitation, which he now believes was an intentional setup orchestrated by Gabriella, who is also known as Carly on OnlyFans. According to Sharpe, Gabriella and Tony Busby are seeking $50 million but now face a counter-lawsuit for defamation and their alleged attempts to tarnish his reputation. Sharpe's comments bring forward several pivotal aspects of this unfolding situation. Sharpe has acknowledged the existence of a video capturing an intimate encounter between himself and Zuniga, but he alleges that Zuniga secretly recorded the footage and subsequently altered it to misrepresent the situation. According to Sharpe and his attorneys, this manipulated video is allegedly being leveraged in what they describe as a blackmail scheme. Leading his legal defense, attorney Lanny J. Davis has taken a strong stance, labeling the lawsuit as a calculated and deceitful effort to extort millions of dollars from Sharpe, asserting that the claims are full of falsehoods, distortions, and inaccuracies. Sharpe's legal team has not only dismissed the accusations, but has also taken the rare move of publicly naming Zuniga and sharing what they allege to be explicit text messages exchanged between the two. The lawsuit's timing has also attracted scrutiny, as Sharpe is reportedly in talks for a lucrative $100 million podcast deal, while his current agreement with A Volume nears its end. His attorneys have hinted that this timing could be deliberate, suggesting the financial opportunity might be tied to the motives behind the legal action. Despite the serious nature of the allegations, Sharpe has not retreated from the public eye. Just a day after the lawsuit became public on April 21st, 2025, Sharpe made an appearance on ESPN's First Take. However, ESPN has so far refrained from issuing any statements on the unfolding situation. This appearance highlights Sharpe's resolve to remain active professionally despite the ongoing legal proceedings against him. The case has drawn significant public attention, resulting in some unfortunate incidents of misidentified individuals. According to reports, a woman with a similar name and Instagram username experienced a sudden rise in followers and comments after being mistakenly associated with the case. She later had to clarify that she was not the Gabriella Zuniga involved in the lawsuit against Sharpe. Since this is an unfolding legal issue, it's crucial to consider it with caution and context. Currently being addressed in Nevada State Court, the case appears to have both parties gearing up for what could turn into a contentious battle. It's important to recognize that in situations like this, conflicting narratives and pieces of evidence often arise. While we've provided an overview of the initial claims and responses, the complete details of the case will likely come to light only through the judicial process. As thoughtful consumers of media, it's important to respect that each side is entitled to a fair hearing in court. Now, let's delve into the evidence presented by Shannon Sharpe's legal representatives, which supports their position that the relationship was consensual and suggests the lawsuit may be an effort to secure financial gain. Stick around as we bring you ongoing in-depth updates on this evolving situation. Examining the evidence and counterarguments, Lanny J. Davis, who represents Sharpe, opted to disclose a collection of explicit text messages they allege were sent by Zuniga to Sharpe over the course of their relationship. Sharpe's attorneys argue these messages demonstrate that their interactions were consensual, involving shared participation in adult role-playing and imaginative scenarios. The messages were made public on April 21st, 2025, just a day after the lawsuit was initiated. Now, we'll review a selection of these texts, bearing in mind they contain explicit material. We've taken steps to censor the most graphic portions while preserving enough detail to convey the nature of the exchanges. One such text, allegedly sent by Zuniga on March 5th, 2023, is said to include an image of a woman bound with ropes, accompanied by the message, "Tie me up like this, and F***K me." Sharpe's supposed reply read, "If I knew how to, I would." In response, according to the leaked conversation, Zuniga allegedly wrote back, "It's okay, I have handcuffs. For now, we can focus on these." A different message, allegedly sent on January 31st, 2024, includes Zuniga saying, "That really got me excited. Restrain me and do naughty things to me." Sharpe is said to have replied with, "Get the cuffs ready." Zuniga allegedly continued by saying, "You still have my handcuffs. I've been craving some intense BDSM stuff and have been feeling a little wild lately." Among the most graphic messages reportedly surfaced on October 9th, 2023, in which Zuniga is said to have written, "I want you to strap a dog collar on me and choke me with it." At least, that's according to the documents issued by Sharpe's team. The text messages also reportedly mention having a baby, with Zuniga allegedly stating, "Only if you give me that baby gravy. Then you can do whatever you want. Plus, I've always dreamed of having a black baby." In a message dated February 29th, 2024, Sharpe reportedly described this as her specific kink. A later message, purportedly from January 1st, 2025, allegedly features Zuniga stating, "I know you missed this big, juicy $25,000 for each cheek," as per releases from Sharpe's representatives. It's crucial to examine why Sharpe's legal team considers these messages a key component of their defense. Davis has stated that these texts, which are claimed to have continued until January 2nd, 2025, conflict with the timeline outlined in the lawsuit and suggest the presence of continuing consensual interactions, including role-playing and fantasy scenarios that they assert were initiated by Zuniga. Shannon Sharpe appears to be defending himself on two primary fronts. The first centers on the argument that the relationship was consensual, a claim backed by the text messages. The second is linked to allegations that a covertly recorded video is being used as a means to pressure him, which his team has labeled an attempted act of blackmail. In reference to the video, Sharpe's representatives allege that Zuniga secretly filmed an intimate moment between them and subsequently edited it to misrepresent the situation as non-consensual. They also claim that, despite multiple requests, Zuniga has declined to share an unaltered version of the recording with Sharpe's legal counsel. This aligns with Sharpe's public statement, in which he directly challenges her to release the full, unedited video rather than providing a manipulated version. As of April 22nd, 2025, it is important to highlight that no video or related footage concerning this case has been made available to the public. Neither Sharpe's legal team nor Zuniga's representatives have published any recordings, and despite the rumors circulating on social media, there is no evidence suggesting any video has gone viral. The ongoing public conversation about this case revolves entirely around the allegations detailed in the lawsuit, the disclosed text messages, and the statements issued by both sides. Shifting our focus to the bigger picture, it's worth examining key factors that might shape how this situation is perceived by the public and possibly a court of law. One notable factor is the considerable age difference between the two individuals involved. According to the lawsuit, Zuniga was 19 when the relationship allegedly began in 2023, while Sharpe was 56. While such an age gap is not unlawful in a consensual adult relationship, it does introduce a pronounced power dynamic, which could influence public opinion. Another relevant aspect is Sharpe's professional profile and financial circumstances. Reports suggest Sharpe has been in discussions for a podcast deal potentially worth $100 million, as his current contract nears its conclusion. His prominent media career includes hosting the highly successful podcast club Shay Shay, featuring notable interviews such as one with comedian Cat Williams, which Sharpe noted during an appearance on the Pat McAfee show garnered almost 58 million views. Let's hear Sharpe explain his approach to interviews during his appearance on Club Shay Shay, giving us a glimpse into his overarching philosophy on media. If you recall, he was already engaging in conversation, so I immediately thought, all right, let's get him mic'd up. How long had he been talking before that? Well, we had been chatting since he arrived early that day. That's probably why I lost track of time. Normally, if we're told the session starts at noon, I'll show up around 11:30 with CJ, the producer, so we can finalize any last-minute details. I'll usually discuss with CJ, saying something like, I think I'll begin with this, and then steer it in that direction. In another portion of the same discussion, Sharpe elaborates on his distinctive interview technique. Did that cross your mind in the moment? No. What is it, 100-something million? How much exactly? Oh, right. So, if we're talking about just the full, complete live show, which ran for 2,046 minutes and 5 seconds. We've reached close to 58 million views. Altogether, we're nearing 96 million views since we've broken it down into segments and shared clips. Clips, definitely. This is exactly what I always explain to people. If you follow our content, you'll notice that I'm more of a conversationalist. Same here. If you're looking for something more investigative, that's what shows like 60 Minutes, Dateline, or 48 Hours specialize in. While these segments aren't directly tied to the lawsuit, they do provide a glimpse into Sharpe's media strategy and the influence of his substantial platform. Additionally, it's important to highlight the reputation of Tony Buzbee, the lawyer representing Zuniga. Buzbee has a history of managing high-profile lawsuits, including cases against major figures like Sean Diddy Combs and Jay-Z. His involvement not only heightens public interest, but also invites increased attention from the media and legal experts alike. Right now, we're faced with two sharply opposing accounts of events. Gabriela Zuniga has filed a civil lawsuit seeking $50 million in damages, asserting claims of sexual assault, battery, and emotional distress. She alleges that Shannon Sharpe engaged in abusive conduct during their relationship and made threats against her. Conversely, Sharpe and his legal counsel firmly deny these accusations, labeling the lawsuit as an act of extortion and a blackmail attempt. They have released explicit text messages, which they argue demonstrate that the relationship was consensual, and claim that Zuniga secretly recorded and manipulated a video of an intimate moment to use as leverage. Both parties have presented evidence to back their respective claims, but as often happens in such cases, the actual facts may be more nuanced than either side's account. It's critical to remember that under the legal system, both individuals have the right to present their arguments and must be presumed innocent until proven guilty. The release of these explicit text messages by Sharpe's legal team has added a new layer to the public debate surrounding this case. Still, it's important to recognize that text messages, while potentially insightful, don't always provide a complete picture of a relationship. Factors such as context, timing, and the surrounding circumstances can affect how such communications are understood. The claims outlined in the lawsuit reflect one side's perspective regarding the event in question, and these assertions will need to be verified through the judicial process. The court will have to carefully assess all presented evidence, such as video footage, text communications, witness accounts, and any additional pertinent details, in order to evaluate the case's validity. As this situation evolves, it is vital for both the public and media outlets to handle it thoughtfully and respect the integrity of the legal system. Making assumptions based on incomplete details or sensationalized narratives does a disservice to everyone involved, particularly to the goal of achieving justice. Next, we'll explore the potential ramifications this case might have for both parties, along with what's likely to unfold in the weeks and months ahead. Keep following our in-depth reporting as we bring you updates on this ongoing matter. Legal status and broader consequences. To begin, let's discuss the current legal standing of this case. On April 20th, 2025, Zuniga initiated a $50 million civil lawsuit against Sharpe in the Nevada State Court. It's essential to note that this is a civil lawsuit, not a criminal proceeding, a distinction that carries significant implications. A civil case involves a plaintiff seeking financial compensation or other legal remedies from a defendant based on claims of alleged misconduct. In civil cases, the standard of proof is typically less stringent than in criminal cases, relying on a preponderance of the evidence rather than establishing guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. As of April 22nd, 2025, Shannon Sharpe has not faced any criminal charges related to these accusations. The matter remains in its initial phases, with both parties having issued public statements and shared portions of their evidence for media outlets. The next steps in the legal process, including discovery, depositions, and potentially a trial, are still ahead, unless an agreement is reached beforehand. It's important to note that civil litigation of this type can take extensive time to conclude, often lasting months or even years, especially when prominent figures and significant monetary claims are involved. Zuniga's demand for $50 million in damages indicates either a strong belief in her case by her legal representation or a strategic move aimed at negotiating a favorable settlement. In his public response, Shannon Sharpe has asserted his intention to mount a robust defense against the allegations. Let's review the closing portion of his statement. The incident under scrutiny, according to him, occurred during a daytime visit initiated by her, which he now claims was a calculated trap. He alleges that Gabby, also known as Carly on OnlyFans, orchestrated the event with Tony Buzbee, aiming for a $50 million payoff. The accusations against him have led to a defamation lawsuit aimed at undermining his reputation. This hints at the possibility that Sharpe could pursue a countersuit for defamation, which would only add further complexity to the ongoing legal battle. Defamation claims, especially those involving public figures, pose unique challenges. Plaintiffs must not only prove the statements were false, but also demonstrate they were made with actual malice or a blatant disregard for the truth. Now, let's explore how this case might affect both sides, starting with Shannon Sharpe. For Sharpe, the consequences are both deeply personal and undeniably professional. On a personal front, allegations like these, regardless of their eventual outcome, can severely harm one's reputation and take an emotional toll. High-profile individuals accused of misconduct often endure intense scrutiny in the public eye, sometimes long before all evidence is presented. From a professional standpoint, Sharpe's post-NFL career has flourished, with significant ventures in media. He currently serves as a co-host on ESPN's First Take and runs his widely acclaimed podcast club Shay Shay. Reports suggest he's been negotiating a $100 million contract for his podcast, as his existing agreement nears its end. These accusations have the potential to influence the ongoing negotiations or result in either temporary or permanent shifts in his media presence, based on how sponsors and networks choose to respond. It's worth noting that Sharpe made an appearance on ESPN's First Take on April 21st, 2025, which was just a day after the lawsuit was initiated. This indicates that, at least for now, ESPN remains professionally engaged with him while legal proceedings are underway. However, sponsors and media outlets typically keep a close watch on situations like this and may alter their stance as new details emerge or as public opinion shifts. For Gabriela Zuniga, the stakes are equally high. Bringing forward a lawsuit of this scale against such a prominent individual inevitably draws intense public and media focus. Sharpe's team has already released explicit text messages, thrusting personal elements of her life into the public eye, a situation likely to persist or even escalate throughout the course of the case. Should Zuniga prevail, she could secure a significant financial award, though likely less than the full $50 million being sought. That said, civil lawsuits are inherently unpredictable, and even with seemingly compelling evidence, success is not guaranteed. On the other hand, if her claims are found to lack merit, Sharpe has hinted the possibility of pursuing countersuits against her. Beyond the immediate individuals involved, this case carries wider ramifications for how accusations of sexual misconduct involving public figures are managed in both the legal system and media landscape. Situations like this often ignite debates about power imbalances in relationships, the complexity surrounding consent, the evidentiary role of text messages and recordings, and the difficulties of resolving conflicting accounts in he said, she said scenarios. Now, let's delve into what might unfold next as this case progresses. In the short term, it is expected that both sides' legal teams will proceed with the formal discovery phase, during which evidence will be collected, depositions conducted, and their respective arguments built. This phase usually happens largely outside of public scrutiny, although occasional updates or leaked details may surface. If it exists, as described, a video allegedly capturing an intimate encounter between Sharpe and Zuniga is likely to serve as a key piece of evidence. Sharpe's representatives assert that the video has been altered to misrepresent the events as non-consensual and claim Zuniga has declined to share the unedited version. A court decision may eventually determine whether the full version of the recording must be provided and under what conditions it can be reviewed during the case. Additionally, text messages disclosed by Sharpe's side will be a focal point of examination, with questions surrounding their legitimacy, context, and significance expected to arise in the legal proceedings. Furthermore, there could be additional evidence or communications that haven't yet been disclosed, which might impact the direction of the case. There's also a chance this dispute could be settled outside of court before it ever goes to trial. In fact, many notable civil cases conclude with confidential settlements, enabling both sides to avoid the risks, costs, and public scrutiny of a trial. That said, given Sharpe's assertive denial of the allegations and hints at filing countersuit, a settlement may be less probable unless powerful evidence is uncovered during the discovery phase. From a media standpoint, this case is likely to continue receiving attention, particularly whenever fresh details emerge. However, in the absence of new developments or revelations, media interest could temporarily wane until a major event reignites public focus on the proceedings. It's important to note that despite widespread rumors and online speculation, there's no proof of any video footage being leaked or going viral as of April 22, 2025. The public fascination with this story stems primarily from the lawsuit itself, the statements made by both parties, and the explicit messages shared by Sharpe's camp. If a video were to surface at some point, it would undoubtedly mark a significant shift in the case. This situation also underscores how quickly misinformation and uncertainty can spread in high-profile legal battles. As noted earlier, a woman whose name closely resembles Gabriela Zuniga's saw a sudden increase in her social media followers and engagement after being wrongly identified as the individual linked to the lawsuit. This incident highlights the tangible consequences that can emerge when information spreads rapidly without proper fact-checking. It's essential to also reflect on the possible long-term effects of this case, regardless of the final verdict. For Shannon Sharpe, even if he manages to refute these allegations, merely being associated with such claims could leave a lasting mark on his reputation and career prospects. Public figures accused of misconduct, even if exonerated, often find that these accusations become an inescapable part of how they're perceived. For Gabriela Zuniga, moving forward with this lawsuit entails not only navigating intense public scrutiny, but also enduring lengthy and potentially intrusive legal proceedings. The explicit messages already made public are likely just the beginning of a broader, more invasive examination of her personal life and character as this case continues to unfold. For society at large, cases like this often fuel critical discussions on topics like consent, the complexities of power imbalances in relationships involving substantial age gaps, the significance of explicit communications in establishing consent, and the need to balance the rights of accusers with the principle of presuming innocence for those accused. Wrapping up our coverage of this ongoing case, it's crucial to emphasize a few important details. Chiefly, this remains a civil case still in its early stages, and as of April 22, 2025, no criminal charges have been filed. Each side involved is entitled to present their arguments and is assumed innocent of any accusations until proven otherwise through due legal proceedings. Secondly, although there are ongoing debates regarding supposed video evidence, no recordings connected to this case have surfaced publicly or gained viral attention, according to the latest updates. The discussion currently hinges on the allegations outlined in the lawsuit, text messages that have been disclosed, and statements issued by the parties involved. Third, the case presents itself as a notably intricate matter, with sharply opposing accounts. Gabriella Zuniga accuses Shannon Sharpe of sexual assault and other improper behavior during their relationship, while Sharpe and his legal team completely reject these claims, describing the lawsuit as an attempt at extortion based on manipulated evidence. Lastly, with this case unfolding, it's important for both media outlets and the broader public to handle the matter with care, respect for the judicial process, and an understanding that the reality may be more complex than the initial narratives from either side suggest. We'll remain attentive to developments and share updates as new details emerge. Tap the cards displayed on the screen for further information.